It is the first Friday of the 2026 MLS season. It's a Friday anyway, so that means that we have to open the show the only way that we do on Fridays.
Come on, man. Go for it, dude.
It's Friday. Friday. Day.
Do you remember this moment from 2025, brought to us by our friends at Apple TV and Major League Soccer? So that was how 25 ended. What's going to happen in 26? We'll all find out together. And today, will we do not? Morning, Will, morning, David. Do we know what kits are going to be worn tomorrow? Do not. Might be the Five Stripes kit. Maybe they're going to hold off on the 96ers until we come back home to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Atlanta Stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Don't know yet. So we're going to find out together about everything going on here in Major League Soccer. We do have news in Major League Soccer. We probably should get that out of the way first as a part of everything that's going on this morning. One of the continuing storylines. And Josh Sargent, it appears, is heading to Toronto. Daniel Shalhoub headed to Toronto yesterday in a deal, and makes you wonder about Sporting Kansas City going forward, what they're going to look like here in 26. So Daniel Shalhoub gets added yesterday. Taylor Calera got added from FC Tulsa in one of the top 5 transfer deals from USL Championship to Sporting Kansas City. Shalhoub goes from Kansas City to Toronto, and now it appears that Josh Sargent is going from Norwich, where he will no longer be practicing with the U21s, to Toronto. Fee is variable. We're getting different reports from different folks. Florian Plettenberg is saying that it is pretty darned expensive. Others saying not so much. Plettenberg's number, just to give you an idea, he is saying that Toronto, and this is as of about an hour ago, Toronto reached a verbal agreement with Norwich, flying in today for the medical. Transfer fee around 20 million euro. And that comes from Florian Plettenberg at Sky Germany. Others are saying that the fee is less than that. Tom Bogert, to give you an idea, fee in the region of 22 million, 16 million pounds, one of the highest transfers in MLS history. Obviously, big signing for Toronto is kind of underselling it a bit. The 4-letter paper was the first one to report the deal. So we're seeing the number anywhere from 20 million euro, 22 million, to 27. So there's about a $5 million gap in what is being reported with Josh Sargent and his possible, probable, imminent, maybe return sooner rather than later. If you're a Toronto FC fan, hope, hope, hope. So you're looking at a range between 22 and 27. Nothing has been mentioned when it comes to add-ons or anything like that, getting to the 27. So keep an eye out for the number. But we have various sources on both sides of the Atlantic saying that this is pretty much a done deal, closing in on the deal, gonna happen, medical today. But keep an eye out, 22 to 27 million, big investment for Toronto FC to go with everything else that they have done in the offseason. So we'll see what happens with this particular deal as we are coming into the 2026 season. In the Twitch pitch today, my quest for you, let me know what you think. Doesn't necessarily have to be wins and losses, finishes, whatever. It can be general thought pattern, what you're looking for. I'm not necessarily looking for the predictions game. Some of our guests coming up, I probably will ask them what they think about the season and what they think is going to happen with the franchise based here in town. You might have heard of them, Atlanta United. Sidebar, Season 4 of Rooted in the Stripes is out, mandatory viewing, with our buddy Joe Fryhofer and that crew piecing it together, sitting down with Tata, spending a lot of time with Ronald Hernandez, spending time at training camp, mandatory viewing to get everything started. But that's where we are. So I will ask you what you think about the season. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be predictions about playoffs or everything. Expectations, thoughts, Twitch pitch. So that can be there this morning. Obviously, we'll continue to go over all of the changes this year. The juice boxes heading into the weekend. Don't know who's going to show up. As I told you yesterday, the way that we have orchestrated this particular program, and it's always fun to orchestrate this particular program the way that we do, is that we send out the siren song, we send out the big goal horn noise, and we ask our friends from Apple TV to drop by. In the past, let's see what Dax McCarty has been in his Hyundai Santa Fe after he has dropped off children at school. Kyndra de St. Aubin has been in the line at school. We've had folks in airports. We've had folks in parking lots. Gio Savaresi in a parking lot in the passenger seat. He was doing safe guesting. So that's the rundown. Literally, it is bring them in. Let's see where you are. Let's talk about the season. Let's get it going. We've done this for MLS Cup. We did it for Decision Day. And so graciously, with the help from our friends at Major League Soccer, we're doing it for opening day. And we can't thank them enough. Obviously, we couldn't do it without their connections and so on. But, yeah, we could not do this without them, and it's a way just to kind of roll out the season in a bunch of different ways. And, having talked about Atlanta United this week with Maddie and Jason being up at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, if you've missed the dispatches, you can check out what they've been doing, plus what's on the web at soccerdownhere.net, all of the stories to get you ready for the year. The three-dimensional experience is off and running for Atlanta United when it comes to SDH. So keep an eye on it all season long. Set your bookmarks, set your notifications, all of the social media stuff, it's there. But today is about the beginning of the season. And nothing like Toronto to sit there first thing in the morning, our time, to go, okay, tell you what, how about this? I'm interested. So what does that mean for Toronto with all of the moves that they have had? Keeping an eye on things. Remember, they've got Walker Zimmerman now in camp. He is now a part of their roster here in 26. The outs, Sean Johnson was probably one of the biggest. You had a couple on the back line with Petretta and Sigur Rosted. Then you bring in Zimmerman, William Yarborough, and Luka Gavrin was going to be your number one in net, but you bring in the experienced William Yarborough, who did a lot of practice time with Messi and friends last year, got a medal for it. Now he's in Toronto. They brought back Raheem Edwards. Then they brought in Daniel Shallowy yesterday. Now they've got Josh Sargent in. They were lacking in premium filled slots. They had one more, a DP slot available. So Georgi Mihailovic and Josh Sargent. That's what you're looking at for your attack to go with Daniel Shallowy now. So premium slots, DPs, Mihailovic, Richie Larea. They had the one U22 already filled with Cassius Mailula. And so now you bring in apparently, probably, possibly Josh Sargent, and you get things squared away there. So your DP slots, you've got your 3 DPs, and going into this Josh Sargent transaction that is going to be anticipated, your Garber bucks were just north of $5 million. No word on what the contract is going to be for Josh Sargent, but I anticipate it's going to be a pretty penny, and it's going to be more than a loony or a toonie. So we'll keep an eye on that today. Various sources, both sides of the Atlantic, are sitting there and saying, okay, Josh Sargent heading to Toronto, heading for a medical, and Norwich is probably glad that they are finally to the point where they can sit there and go like this. And so Josh Sargent apparently out the door in Norwich and heading to Toronto for his future in Major League Soccer. He wanted the move. And basically, when you text your manager, as it was reported, to sit there and go, you know what, I'm not interested in participating in this particular match, then that's a way for you to get time with the U21s in the eyes of the manager and not see the light of day. And you're asking for this deal to Toronto, and now it looks like it's going to get done. On the flip side for Norwich, by the way, it is going to be one of those instances where right now, with Norwich, they are chasing after survival, basically, in the EFL Championship. Right now in the league table, you got to go to the bottom, and they are 7 points away from survival. They've hit a recent winning streak, 4 out of 5. And so they are in 17th place, well ahead of Charlton Athletic on goal difference in 17th. So they're safe. And with the craziness in the championship, they're starting to space out a little bit. They're toward the bottom of the chase group, because that chase group that we talk about with Derby and Wrexham for that last playoff spot, Derby's at 48. You got 3 teams at 48 points. So Wrexham on the brain. Norwich seems to be doing better without Josh Sargent. They finally got the deal done, or getting the deal done, but they seem to be safe for the moment. The chase in the EFL Championship, from 48 points down to 42, you're looking at 6 to 16, 11 points, 11 teams, 6 points. Norwich looking up at that group, but if they continue their hot play without Josh Sargent, then they'll be fine. Josh Sargent's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. Wow, that's old. Sorry, my bad. That's Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game. Tell you what, let's redo that. Take 2. Opening kickoff brought to you by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Start your day with the most important stories in the game. The right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Trying their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy-bodied, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate. Rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. So that is opening coffee. It could be. Man, I need my opening coffee or opening caffeine. So that's opening kickoff. It looks like Josh Sargent is heading in. Like I said, everybody, let me know what your expectations are or what you're looking forward to. Like I said, I don't need predictions. Everybody's been doing predictions. I'm looking at expectations. What do you have your eye on here in 26? It could be Atlanta United, could be anybody else. Doesn't matter. So that's the rundown for the morning. Let me know what's on your mind. You put that in the Twitch pitch. Keep an eye out on socials. And I think Ricky is probably one of the majority opinions. Ricky just wants to feel dangerous again. Wear the black hat. Let everybody hate you. You come to their town, everybody fears you. You wear the black hat, you don't care. You put the black hat down, you're ready to go to work. So that's what you're looking at here for the first Friday leading into the week. If you missed them, you've got interviews with Jess Charman, who's going to be paired with Ian Joy this season, and she's in St. Louis. She is in St. Louis getting ready for the first match of the season. And so they're going to have the first match of the season on Apple. Jess and Ian Joy this year. That's going to be a quiet booth. We had Casey White earlier this week. Casey's always going to be joining us Tuesdays at 10. She's paired with Christian Miles. So the Wonder Twins are in St. Louis for Charlotte and St. Louis, and in Houston for Houston and Chicago. Christian Miles is paired with Casey D this season. You heard from Will Pelagic, the play-by-play voice in Charlotte. And it is an opportunity for Charlotte to improve upon what happened with them last year. Full season of Idon Toklamati up top. Wolf Zaha continuing to get fouled. Improvements at the back line, although a lot of folks are going to be chasing after Tim Ream at the back. So that's that's a bit of the preview that we've had so far this week. And obviously, like I said, with everything that's been going on at United, you're looking at all that things. All right, so we open the door. We open the portal, and we find out who's hanging out with us. And it is the return, the triumphant return. And she's not in line at school. She is at home. Welcome in, Kyndra de St. Aubin. Welcome back. Welcome to 26, Kyndra. Good to see you.
Good morning. How are you?
Hey, look, it is a Friday. It is the first Friday of the season, and it is all about the previews and all about the things. So where are they putting you this weekend, and when are you leaving?
I leave this afternoon at 2:30 Central Time, and I am Austin hosting Minnesota United.
Oh, okay. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a home game, kind of not. So you've got some local knowledge there that's a part of this whole thing.
Yep.
What has study hall been like getting ready for this one for you?
Well, first of all, it's like we just wait for preseason to wrap up so we can solidify these rosters to the best of our knowledge. I mean, movement is still happening, as we saw yesterday. The transfer portal is open until I think mid to late March. But, you're trying to get your boards done. Like I'm working on my Austin board, and I'm trying to put, at least Austin has like their 2026 numerical roster, so at least who's on there right now. I'm still waiting to see if Mirto Ozuni is going to stick around for the season or what's happening. But no, it's been great. And I love that the games were streamed in Palm Springs. The only thing that made me more upset about that is that I wasn't in Palm Springs myself.
There you go.
I mean, I'm talking to all these Minnesota guys when they came back. I went to training the other day before they went to Austin on Wednesday. I can't blame them. They got out before another snowstorm.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm sorry. Why do I not find myself down there? Because it reminds me of spring training in baseball when I used to cover baseball. And just you can see all the teams and all the people, and you're getting all this information because it's still so low key. So I'm excited for the season to start. As we know, the games are streamed on Apple TV. You don't need the MLS season pass. No such thing anymore.
Plug.
So I'm excited to get going. It's been fun to watch these CONCACAF games, and see what's going on with some of these teams. So yeah, it's been great. I can't wait.
I can't have you leave Minnesota United discussions without what your thoughts are about bringing in Hamas, expectations. What's the vibe been like? Yeah, I know. That James dude that's coming.
Yeah, exactly.
So James is dropping in to Minnesota United. What's the vibe been like with that announcement, with both you in the booth and everybody else you've been talking with?
Well, first of all, I think, honestly, in my professional opinion, this isn't like my Minnesota United fandom, but I don't think there's a negative that can come from this because of the way the deal was signed. I think this is a win-win for both parties. And I don't know the numerical numbers on the actual deal. I don't know how that all worked out. I have no inside information on that. But I don't. But I do think that he needs the club as much as the club would like him. Even if it's for this stretch before the World Cup, he's got to get in game shape. He's clearly been working out on his own, but nothing replicates game shape, especially if you're wanting to play at a high level of the World Cup on North American soil. So I don't think this is like, hey, I'm going to waltz in here. I think this league is a piece of cake. I mean, those days are gone for anybody that comes here, and they can talk to anybody before they come here and understand that. So I think this is a win-win, and I still think he's got some serious juice left in the tank. He's got incredible motivation to be ready for Colombia, and the pressure is on. So it's a big spark for Minnesota, and we'll see what a true number 10 looks like back in that role for Minnesota. Losing Robin Lod was a big deal. He wasn't a true number 10, but he could play just about anywhere except for goalkeeper, maybe. And so I think it'll be interesting to see how it works. And Thomas, Chancalay coming in as well. There are other pieces that now James Rodriguez kind of overshadowed the other additions that Minnesota did make. And Chancalay and Joaquin Pereira played in the same club. They grew up in the same city. So there's a connection there. And I think Chancalay has a point to prove with the rough patch he had in New England. So I think it could be interesting. And I'm intrigued by Austin too, to be honest. But James Rodriguez is a huge spark. I think he seems motivated to be here and to get in shape and contribute to this club.
Cam Knowles in, Eric Ramsey struggling at West Brom. He decided to take the quarter zip on the white T-shirt and head over to the EFL Championship. And Cam Knowles is in. Philosophically, what differences do you see when it comes to Minnesota taking the field?
Well, the biggest thing I realized, and I watched Cameron Knowles, coach this team for the couple games before Eric Ramsey came in. And I remember watching them, and I wasn't doing the game, but I was watching, and I was like, holy smokes, this team is fun to watch. They're on the front foot, high press. They're forcing the turnovers. They're using some pace. Then Eric Ramsey came in. He's a young coach. He was working with what he had. He was a little bit maybe more pragmatic, a little bit more, I don't want to call it conservative because it's not easy to defend for 90 minutes.
Right.
And 90 minutes for 34 plus games, and again, it was pragmatic and it was organized. And to do that and be that focused and have your group in line, that takes a lot. And he had a lot of belief in that group. But with Cameron Knowles, I think you might see a little bit more shifting back into what we saw before Eric Ramsey got here and Cameron Knowles had it. And they want to be a little more on the front foot. They want that same pressure and organization, but higher up the field to start. So you still want to be organized and compact wherever you go, but you want to start it a little bit higher, not so much, just transition game, maybe a change in shape. It's going to be interesting to see how he utilizes the pieces he has and where he finds the benefits of the attack. Kelvin Yeboah is healthy. I think that's going to help. He started off a little rough last year, and I think his confidence was hurting. So it's going to be interesting. Marcanic is still scoring goals. I know it's preseason, but for some reason nobody can stop him. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But I think it's going to be exciting, and I think already they kind of knew they were going to have to adapt and shift this year because teams start to understand how you're going to play and how they can hurt you. Anybody has to adapt in this league. You can't do the same thing all the time. It doesn't work anymore.
You mentioned Austin. Facundo Torres back. So MLS is back. Facundo Torres is back. And you mentioned the Mirto Uzuni conundrum. That sounds like an English soap opera. It's like a Robert Ludlum novel, the Mirto Uzuni conundrum. You've got those three DPs in, and then you have you wonder about the goal scoring because at one point last year when you had Brandon Vasquez injured, own goal had been the second highest leading goal scorer for Austin. When you look at Torres coming in and Uzuni with a kind of a question mark and hopefully a healthy Brandon Vasquez, obviously you're hoping that Austin, if you're an Austin supporter, you're hoping that Verde is going to be putting that ball in the back of the net thing.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to all the press conferences that Nico did in the offseason and the preseason here. We talked to him yesterday for our broadcast call for the week. And I mean, it's no secret that they need more goals and they need to be more aggressive and they need to be more vertical. Every player talks about it as well. They've been working on this verticality. Well, the fact that Facundo Torres didn't really start training, in the group recently, Mirto Uzuni was dealing with some things. Owen Wolf is still recovering from sports hernia surgery. So I don't know how it's all going to look this first week, and you can preach patience, but we all know how that works. Fandom, doesn't always, but yes, they need to find something. I'm not sold on Mirto Uzuni yet. I mean, I even struggled to see it last year. He wears the number 10, but I think they want him higher up the field. So I'm not convinced yet on what this team is going to look like. And Nico Estevez wants them to be more aggressive and more vertical. And maybe it's even Brad Stuver hitting a couple long balls and not winning the first, but you're winning the second. So just starting from a higher point on the field. I asked Nico yesterday, I'm like, what's the trigger to understand when you should go vertical and play less horizontal? Is there like a thing you're looking for tactically? Is there a thing that happens in the game that all of a sudden you're like, okay, enough side to side, we need to go forward? Is there a player that kind of reads that, that understands when you need to go forward. And I think that they hope it's Facundo Torres maybe that can read that trigger and read that understanding and play more vertical, play between the lines, come in from a wing maybe if he has to. But I think it's going to take some time because they're just now getting on the field together. They didn't play most of the preseason together. And, Owen Wolf, who in my opinion should be a huge piece this season, is still, not ready, not fit. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think the fans there deserve something because what did they have last year? 37 goals.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, the second leading scorer before Vasquez got her own goal.
Yep.
That's not what you want to see on your stat sheet, and they know that. The fans deserves more.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I do have someone in the queue, and we know the ground rules here. When it comes to the show of chaos, that means that you have to have a question for this individual before you go, and I'm not telling you who it is, so it's going to be a surprise. Since obviously we're based here in Atlanta, I have to ask the Atlanta United question to you. Your initial thoughts of 25 and heading into 26 when it comes to Atlanta United.
I submitted my picks. I don't know if I did it in time to get it posted on the website. I don't know if that was intentional or not, so I can't be put on blast when the end of the season comes. But, I don't see them being that much better this year. I just don't. I mean, Tata Martino, we all know, incredible, right? What he did with them before, but this is a different time. This is a different league practically since 2017, a different group that he's working with. He's not coming in fresh. He's dealing with some things that were already there. I don't see them being that much better than they were, honestly. I still feel like they're going to be falling short and people are going to be disappointed because expectations since the very beginning in Atlanta have been high. And there's some pressure there with all the hullabaloo going around the World Cup in Atlanta and stuff going on and what U.S. soccer has going on there. So there's some real pressure there, I think.
So let's ask this individual about said pressure. And it is Michael Parkhurst.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Parky traditionally joins us at 9:30 to discuss whatever's going on in the world of soccer and at Beyond Goals Mentoring. And so, Kyndra, you know the ground rules here. To escape the chains of the show of chaos, you must ask a question to the individual who has come into the room. Your question for Michael Parkhurst is, what?
Where is Atlanta United finishing in the Eastern Conference this year?
Top half.
Okay. I got it.
So
that's a major improvement.
It is a major. Well, they can barely get worse. So that's the positives. I do think they'll get better. I think Tata brings a different respect to that locker room, that he'll turn things around a little bit. But I don't know. It's TBD for sure, because there's a lot of guys still on that roster that underperformed severely last year. And was that a one-off or is that a sign of disaster? So, I'm going to hope that it's a one-off and that they can turn things around. So that's what I'm saying. I say the top half, they're a playoff team for sure.
I like it. I like the optimism.
All right. Kyndra is at Q2, and she's going to be getting a lot of barbecue to take home with her as Austin takes on Minnesota United. As always, Kyndra, thanks for dropping by, being a part of the show of chaos. Don't be a stranger. You've got the garage door open. We will catch up with you soon. Enjoy your travel. Be safe. We'll see you.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
There we go. Kyndra de St. Aubin. And now it's up to you and me, sir. We are carrying the torch here for this particular half hour to get things started in the show of chaos. Hi, how are you?
I'm great, John. How are you doing?
Well, look, hashtag MLS is back. I feel like I have to say it. MLS is back.
I'm excited.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's new. It's like spring training. Everything's all new again. Optimism's there for everybody. Doesn't matter who it is. It is. When you look at last year, obviously, we talked about Atlanta United here a little bit. What else from 2025 sticks with you about the season? It could be Atlanta-based, could be Major League Soccer-based. What else is in your brain from last season as we head into this season?
Just that MLS continues to be MLS, where it's just so unpredictable, right? You have the two finalists from the Cup don't even make the playoffs last year, right, with the Galaxy and the Red Bulls. And then, Vancouver is so much better than anybody had thought. So really, it's so tough to predict in the offseason who's going to be good and who's going to turn things around, because, there's no reason why Atlanta couldn't be a top 3 team.
Mhm.
Even coming off the disaster that was last year, right? It's proven that it can be done in MLS. So that just goes to show how difficult it is to preview the season and try and make an educated guess about who's going to be up there and who's not. All you know for sure is probably LAFC and Seattle will be towards the top end of the West because they've shown it consistently. And in the East, it's probably Cincinnati and Miami.
Yeah, and when you look at, since you dropped the M word, I'll go ahead and mention it. When you look at Messi and friends, I have always been of the mindset that, yes, they're bringing in people, but if you have an ownership group and you have a capologist who really knows his math, and you have folks that want to sit there and be in that environment and play and chase after hemispheric championships and galactic titles and things like that, you're going to make those financial sacrifices because it will benefit you down the road.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, if Miami wants to sit there and they can sit there and push the edges of the envelope and maybe come up with NIL deals and whatever to get everybody under the umbrella, more power to you. You're challenging the rest of the league to figure out what your path is.
Totally.
When you've been in these conversations as a mogul in training about Miami, you're of that same vein. It's like, look, they're making you make a decision about how you want to play things. They're serious and they want to spend money to do it. What have been your conversations about what they've been doing in Fort Lauderdale, getting ready for Major League Soccer year in and year out?
Yeah, you can view it 2 ways, right? Obviously, they got in trouble and did some things they weren't supposed to be doing.
And Santi Sosa sent Blaise Matuidi into retirement.
So you look at it in that sense and you say, well, it's competitive advantage compared to the rest of the league when we're supposed to have a salary cap and rules in place. That's one way to look at it. LA Galaxy have been doing that for 20 years. Everybody knew that they were doing things, and LA Galaxy weren't the only ones. Let's face it. What's his name up in Montreal was on like $150,000 when he was the best player in the league for years.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody believed that. Bukaty.
Yeah.
So there's always been things that have occurred that you're like, that's probably not right.
Yep.
But as a player, you are viewing it in that light, John, where it's like, hey, these guys want to win and they want to spend money, and that's way better than getting a bunch of terrible contracts and trying to keep guys down and all those things. So I think players in general appreciate it. And if that's what it's going to take to keep pushing this league forward, then fantastic. Because, from my perspective now, MLS is in a different level than it ever was, right? There are billionaires now in charge of every team. It's no longer millionaires. These individuals are super wealthy. So they need to continue to push the league. And, Miami is for sure doing that, which is great.
All right, so let's ask our next person who has wandered in through the portal and has entered in through the Doctor Who phone booth to find out what's going on here as we bring in the Show of Chaos and we bring in Devon Kerr for his debut on the morning show. Devon Kerr, how are you, sir?
You know what? I'm doing even better now that I get the opportunity to join you boys, but I got to start off right away. I am horrific with social media. And I say that just because busy schedule, things going on. So I'm actually in Tyler Terrence's house, play-by-play commentator. And I go, dude, have you ever been with John Nelson? He goes, dude, he's awesome. He's great. I jump onto like, crap, he follows me. So I apologize that I didn't give you the follow back. And obviously a special bow to that man in the upper corner. Parky, always been a fan, man. Thank you for everything that you did for the game and your continued efforts after the fact. Certainly don't go unnoticed to all of us out here.
I appreciate that. No, it's been good to follow your career as well. I know you're doing a lot with USL, MLS, everything in between. So yeah, congratulations to you. Hope you have a great season ahead.
Thank you. Appreciate that, boys. All right, where are we at? Where are we at in the discussions? Tell me.
Well, here's where we are in the discussion. The rules of the Show of Chaos is the following.
Oh, shoot.
Yes, Parky knows.
I know the rule.
He knows the rule. To leave the Show of Chaos, you must have a question ready for the individual that has turned it into a three-way dance. So for Parky to exit and go have breakfast or go play golf or do whatever, he has to have a question for you, Devon Kerr, so he can leave. So Michael Parkhurst, your question for Devon Kerr.
Best game you did last year?
All comps, any league, or MLS specific?
Oof. Give us both. Give us both.
Yeah, I don't want to get myself into trouble there.
I was thinking all comps.
Wow, that is a very good question. I'm pulling up my board. One of the things the offseason does is try and give your mind a reprieve from the chaos, but at times it can eliminate some of the greatness that certainly got an opportunity to take part in. I'll tell you this. I don't necessarily I can't say it was the greatest game in the sense of, oh, wow, like this was the overall performance from either team, or the atmosphere was incredible, or the trip. It is the only time, out of all due respect to every team that was involved in the 2025 race, it was the only time that I felt I was on the call for a game where I was like, there's no doubt in my mind this team is going MLS Cup. And that was the first time that I called the Vancouver Whitecaps. Now, I'd called them in international competitions, but I hadn't called them in 2025 in MLS play. It was a late season game in September. Obviously, everybody could have said, oh, I saw the writing on the wall, and that's fine. But I came out of their match sitting there, and I just went, holy crap. Like, they were even a little bit decimated in terms of the roster, but the depth shined. They manhandled their opponent, and I walked away from the game was like, if I was a betting man, I've never placed, all of my money would have been on the Whitecaps. And everybody, oh, Miami and all that stuff. I get it. But like, we get an opportunity as announcers to see all these teams firsthand. Michael will tell you that there is a big difference of prep for a game and then going through a scout with your teammates and actually being on the field against an opponent. It gives you a different viewpoint, the way a team can manipulate itself through a match, the emotion that comes with it. So getting an opportunity Vancouver, that was probably the most memorable for me, which is crazy because it got a blowout against Sporting Kansas City, but it's one that sticks with me.
And there you go, Michael Parkhurst. You may leave. What is next on your agenda today, sir?
Meeting at 10 o'clock. So now I got a little bit of time in between that to go make sure my kids aren't on their electronics all day.
Yes, there you go. As always, my friend, great to see you. And we are keeping an eye on everything for our resident mogul in training at Rhode Island FC. We'll catch up with you down the road. Couple of weeks. Be safe. We'll see you soon, my friend.
See you, gents. Have a good weekend.
There we go. There goes Michael Parkhurst. And so now, all right, Devon Kerr, my first question for you is Nala asking for treats and your breakfast?
What a dog she is, man. I love Nala. She's so sweet. Ask for treats. More so, it's the end of kindness where they come up and take their nose snout, just gives you that polite nudge of like, hey, I see you sitting there doing nothing. Why don't you get yourself in action and rub my head and give me some love? An incredible animal, and an honored to be hosted by the Terrence. Like, love that you called that out, by the way.
Oh, me and Terrence, we probably go off the rails when he comes and visits, and doesn't matter really what we're talking about. Look, he has come on the show from CVG actually, and he was in front of the Sbarro when he parachuted in, and he literally gave himself a lower third font of Pity Martinez, and I was like, I initially saw the font. I'm like, wait a second. I saw the ID of, somebody's in an airport and they list themselves as Pity Martinez. And I'm like, wait, Pity Martinez is on the show. And then I pop up and it's Terrence in front of the Sbarro there at CVG on his way out the door. So that's how we're wired on this particular thing. Since this is your debut, we will go back in time to 2025. Some of the storylines that stuck with you in your prep getting ready for 26.
We could keep it specific to the Atlanta grouping. Atlanta United and Cincinnati. And one of the storylines last year was these names on this piece of paper and how that translates. I think certainly that narrative is going to be something that follows them with Tata into 26. the ability for Pete. Certainly, there's no short of storylines of all the star power that continues to follow the squad. Their new stadium is going to open, but to actually put another star, it's one of the most difficult things to do. Is go back to back. I'm interested in some of the engine and or a second year grouping. Big fan of what Eric Quill was doing in Dallas. I like his style. His relationship with me personally over the years. He's always been very kind on the tactical side, and we break down a lot of stuff. Can that squad add some more in the Western Conference and a little bit? What's going to go on in Columbus post Wilfred Nancy? Certainly, it's not just his changeover. There's a mass changeover in his staff. Pascal Janssen, was that a fluke with New York City, or is this going to be something there's an uptick? There's a bunch of different things. LAFC, great things about MLS is because of the depth of the league, there are so many storylines. I mean, there's 30 freaking teams in the league now, John. It's insane.
I know.
So it's certainly fun for the person that's involved, but for a passerby, you come in on one weekend and I'm like, oh, let's promo the league and the game. I believe what I'm saying, that it's very cool for a standard person to just walk into a bar, pub, friend's house and go, wow, there's a lot going on here, right? There's a lot of really cool storylines involved, and certainly on opening weekend.
All right, so I know that I want to get into FCC and Atlanta, and a little birdie has told me that someone close to you in a physical space upcoming is going to be joining us at the top of the hour to discuss it as well. So that kind of gives you a bit of a preview. So you can either stay for 13 minutes and have a question for that individual, or if you want to go and have breakfast with Nala, you can. I give you that option. When you look at Atlanta and Cincinnati, FCC comes in off of playing in CONCACAF Champions Cup. It was a blowout. They got to probably rest some folks and get some minutes. When you look at Cincinnati, what are you the most impressed by with what Pat Noonan brings to the table, and what concerns you the most about FCC on a game-by-game basis?
I would say most impressed by their ability in the offseason to replace some pieces that departed. Luca Ordashano is certainly going to be one. They brought in the Ecuadorian Ramirez on the wing. It is an area with the new ease, if you will, the signings, but also the depth that they have within the group. It's one of the areas they struggled the most in last year. So you lost a little bit. I think they gained a little bit more. Can you hold that? Can you hold the health? The inconsistency, at least of performances for Cincinnati in 25, had a lot to do, and that was right from the get-go. They didn't have a full arsenal to pick up from if you're Pat Noonan and co, and they have that right away. Now, certainly Matt Miazga is unavailable, so Miles Robinson comes in, he controls. We saw a lot of different variation against them, but their health is going to be something that I'm certainly keen that they have now. It's also something that I wonder in terms of do we need to be concerned about any specific area? Matt Miazga is going to be 31, Nick Hagglund 34, Tine Chidebe 31. Alvis Powell 32. Miles is only going to be 29 this year. He's sort of in the prime number, but you lose one guy and it's a problem. And that's kind of been a thing for Cincinnati over the past couple. Who was going to be the third musketeer on that left side when Nick Hagglund was hurt? Ian Murphy rotated into it. They couldn't really figure it out. Now there's different variations. The consistency of their 2023 Supporter Shield win team was everything, right? And that's what they're trying to get back to. So depth and health is something that's great early on. I'm also watching it. I think the bigger story that everybody talks about in the final third, because it's great that you have a striker in Kevin Denke who his movements are impressive. He certainly has a good relationship with Evander, who's an MVP candidate every single season. But we also saw last year their inability towards the tail end of the year to break teams down on a consistent basis. They played, I got to look at the numbers, it's so staggering, John. 33 of 45 matches were one-goal games. That is insane. 73%. Now, the good news is they took 27 results. The bad news is 14 came in August and September. That's lack of depth, that's lack of quality, and it's teams sitting, forcing just Evander and Denke. You got to evolve. They have the pieces now on the midfield to be able to exploit efficiently. Now it's just getting everybody up to names and being able to go tackle that.
You mentioned the new names. Jabari comes in from Grenoble on a permanent. It's another season for a player like Echenike to evolve from his U22-ness. You brought in another couple of folks. Tom Barlow comes in to be an absolute troublemaker to help you out. When you look at the new faces coming in for Cincinnati, I know that there are some folks that would sit there and say, man, you probably should have done something in keeping Yakubo just because of what he can give you. When you look at these new faces that are coming in to replace the ones that you had the question marks on, what do you think?
Go back to the depth conversation one. We saw Jabari kind of in it the other night. Explosive, helpful on that front line. Gives you the ability, if you want to run a two-striker system, or let's remove Evander from the conversation for a second. He's hurt. He's got to come out. Gives you the ability to be flexible in the front three. If Evander comes in, you can still run the two, and you've got more depth. Brian, I mentioned that comes in. I like flexibility as well. You talk about Yuya putting all this together. The greatest thing about is they said, let Kubo cook. He could do it on multiple areas of the field. While no single individual that was signed on a permanent or that was brought in the offseason is as flexible as Yuya, you do have multiple players are not being pigeonholed, John, to one single position. Mm-hmm. These are guys that are running three deep at different spots. Important for FC Cincinnati. So I like the direction they're headed.
All right. Devon Kerr hanging out with us on the Show of Chaos. And I don't know if you were warned, but we do these. This is our first one of this. We've done it for Decision Day, and we've done it for MLS Cup, where basically we just kind of sit there and open the portal, and whoever comes through and out of Stargate SG1 shows up and we talk. Now you know what you're getting yourself into here. I got to ask now about Atlanta United. You got the question with Parky a little bit. Now you look at Atlanta United. Obviously, folks are sitting there and they're going, okay, it's Tata and it's 2.0. Miggy, obviously 7 years different, all these kinds of things. When you look at Atlanta United from study hall getting ready for this one, what sticks in your head?
Well, the fun thing is, in an hour. And I say that is, I know this is a radio, but if it's on my screen, I just so happened to stumble across some pre-siege.
You're multitasking, sir. It is audio and video. You are out in the ether, sir.
Love it. So, certainly the roster, as we alluded to the beginning, as everybody talked about, the names run for last year. Kept a bunch of those names, and specifically in the attacking side of the ball, you just have to perform better. Let's start there. Expectation, but the reality is you were brought in for a reason, and that action exists because of the precedent you set as an individual where you were at. So if it's Almar, if it's Lataylat, Baranchuk, like, you have to play better. It is that. An interesting question on that, I call with Tata yesterday, and I want to quote it directly, as I want to make sure that I give Tata, as it was, I thought it was very telling of what he saw experiencing. And Alejandro Figueroa, who is the play-by-play, the Spanish side, he asked him what his off-season had been like in 2025. Tata said, for the first 6.5 months, 7 months, I didn't do a single thing relating to football. From afar, for a bunch of different teams, yes, but in terms of MLS, I did nothing attention. And one of the first teams that I watched was in July of 2025, and it was Atlanta United. And he said that the club caught his attention given the players that they had, that he couldn't analyze, but that it stood out to him that by September, it felt like everyone had stopped competing. That is unreal to hear, who had, at that point in time, no involvement with the club directly. And to just sit there and watch it go, wow, it's this bad. So you bring back some of those players, you got to step up for a reason. Defensively, they've got to be better. I think the pieces are there in theory to at least give them a bump up. And now it's about chemistry and belief. Big words that I took away from the offseason reporting. Jason Longshore is involved in that conversation with his relationship with the club, as well as comments from the players, is about the identity and the intensity that they've been able to. They didn't have an identity, because the identity, Jon, was, wow, look at all this talent on paper. Yeah, but was there intensity with it? Did they press? Were they a team? It seems that they've at least been given a sort of a blueprint for what Tata wants. And that's been received within the grouping, where there's a sort of brotherhood early on. They're willing to go fight, right? And that's important for a group that just had no morale whatsoever, to Tata's point, basically past midseason.
Yeah, and you end up with another couple of transactions here to fill in some roster spots. Sergio Santos and Fafa Pico. I thought those were interesting pickups coming into 2026 to add to the pieces that you already had.
Veteran guys league. If you want to win in this league, you have to have it. It's that simple. And pretty much every team that has, for the most part, won MLS Cup in recent seasons had that. It's funny. Tyler and I were just talking downstairs, and we were watching a hockey game last night, and we were talking about Christian Ramirez, right? Like, go back to bringing him into the Columbus Crew. Those types of players, 5, 7, 10 years under their belt, the veteran that understands the travel, for European players, South Americans who don't understand the gravity of size of this country. I mean, for granted, because it's all we know. Travel is extensive, and people aren't used to that. And it's been well documented, right? So I think the clarity of that to breed into a locker room of like, hey, sure, this is going to be difficult. Make sure you set this up with your family. Make sure your food, you're jumping time zones. Like, players don't have experience with that. And that's why the second year is usually better for the internationals coming in. I want to target a couple individuals that Steven Alzate in the midfield. Really love what I've seen from him in the coming in. And so far, what I've been able to pick up on the season video that I've watched, his control is certainly mobile within the engine room, something that they really struggled with. What I'm looking at, though, is actually his understanding what Tata Martino wants out of what is that. It's the next step. It's not being that 6-8 pivot, but more so of an 8-10 to give that extension and relationship onto the front line. What massive void that was in 25. So if you can get a player that feels like they can be the link up, the confidence to combine with Maranchuk, to release himself a little bit further, to push Saba, to release Marone. This is something that was very much on the perimeter for Atlanta United in 20. I was sick and tired, and I love Brooks Lennon and respect Person, but I was sick and tired of seeing balls down into the channel and a 30-yard gap from the front line in the midfield. It's one that I've got an eye on. I think done well for himself. Stian Gregersson's health is important, and his next to what is his name? The other center back. My brain is now.
Anami High. Oh. Well, I was going to say, it's either Juan Baracol or Anami High. Take your pick.
Baracol, very much. Juan Baracol, and what I've seen with him on the ball, regardless of what the combination is, it feels like confidence that is not just on the field, Jon. It's something in the room. It's pushing guys. It's pushing off the field. I'm not a person that breeds into that whole culture comment. I think it's an overutilized word, but I do believe in an atmosphere and a personality within a group. And when you need a strong individual. That's not good enough. That's great. Let more of that. And then Barakal's play, and what I've heard from the locker room is that he's that type of person, carries that confidence. So certainly against a midfield and transitional team of FC Cincinnati in the matchup on the weekend, Steven Alzate is a fun one, and Baracal, and I would imagine that their importance is going to be very big alongside Tomas Jacob as well. He's been good in that deep field position.
Yep, and looking forward to Elias Baez as well when he gets integrated over on the left-hand side to see how things are looking. Okay, the individual behind you in the line coming through SG1, he's getting ready, and he is now poised. And so now, since it is the top of the hour, we're going to bring this individual in, and it's someone that you might be fairly familiar with. He loves soccer. It's Nate Bukaty.
Oh,
You didn't put my job title.
Oh man! So of course he starts talking and the beauty of hotel rooms and places and things like that. That's the beauty of the show. Nothing like live show and sit there and signals just kind of go. Not a shock. Doesn't happen. That never
I love that.
happened.
I also love, when I was in, it's funny you started off with Tyler's title and PT Martin tomorrow, right? Nate's got a fun little one. We'll wait for him to come on and announce it. I wanted to put on there, and I was like, it's my first. I'm not sure everybody's personality. Are they going to be willing to let me, have a little? I can honestly say it's one of the bigger regrets of 2026, and I apologize to the viewers.
I mean, it is legitimately. It is one of those where you come in, the door is open, it's chaos. We like to have fun, we like to entertain, but we want to get all the information out there at the same time with everybody. So that's how we're wired here. Look, I'm not a morning person at all. My body kicks in about 2:00 in the afternoon Eastern time, and for me to do a morning show, it is a challenge of every fiber of my being. Not to be, crotchy, crabby, 128-year-old guy coming on here and talking about soccer every morning. So I'm that guy. So I am literally that guy.
Yeah, I've switched recently, and within the last half decade, made the necessity. I was very much similar to you. I enjoyed the ability to make my way through a morning. Coffee person whatsoever. I tended to frequent the dark times of the day, not in a negative sense, but a night guy. That doesn't exist anymore. The 5:30, 6 body clock, even being rode early a little bit here to deal with extracurriculars with Tyler. I couldn't put myself back to bed. Caffeine is a necessity. Katie will tell you that. And certainly the opportunity to maybe spend a little bit more time of the day. I'm exhausted at day, but I have become quite the connoisseur.
Nate Bukaty, you got your ears on. Oh man, nothing like I said. It's where is he?
You hear anything?
I
don't know what's going on
there
here, fellas.
Is.
Can you
You're
guys
good.
hear me? I can't hear anything all of a sudden.
Yes, we hear you fine. You are good to go. I hear you fine. Nothing like like I said. This is figuring out technology. Okay, and so Nate was. I heard Nate. We heard him. We heard him, Dev. Okay, there we go. All right, let's see if he's in with us here. So Nate, do you still love soccer? No.
Oh my God.
Oh man, I and a lot of times people will blame me for technology problems. I can't. I'd like to sit here and say, yeah, I'm hitting the wrong button. But sometimes when you're encased in concrete, which I imagine Nate is at the moment, then it might be a little bit of hit and miss when it comes to signals. Okay, here we go. Can you hear us, Nate?
I can hear you.
Yay! And oh man,
I've got a good one for you. So while we're waiting, while we're obvious to get his life together, we're going to be in Atlanta in a couple of weeks, and I need one food from you, Sir John Nelson, that we have to visit. As soon as you've been there.
Well, what are you in the mood for?
I'm an equal opportunity
because I can
employer.
Well, we can go barbecue. We can go good old Southern cooking. We can go new, hip, and trendy. I mean, there are plenty of directions we can go here. What we may do is we may canvass the Twitch pitch and come up with a unified answer, but we may come up with a greatest hits listing. And then this way you can sit there and pick and choose and gain 5 pounds by just staring at the menu, and then try to work it off walking to the game at Atlanta Stadium, as it's going to be called here in the next couple of months. So now we'll come up with a list. Yeah. We'll come up with a list for you. That won't be that much of a problem. But there's good Southern cooking, good home cooking. Literally, we can go off the board. We could, I mean, it would be a bit of a haul, but we could get you some good Uzbeki food from the hotel. But no, we'll line it up for you. That won't be a problem. So that's you getting a food request, no issues.
Is for the viewers as well as for the experience. Number one, if possible, I would prefer to be there with you and with viewers. To me, I love the environment that all of you all produce,
right?
And the opportunity. That's not BS. I'm full of a lot of hot air, but whatever comes out of my mouth is two. It can't be in a breakfast club because my buddy owns it, and I know he's got a couple of spots up there. Hang on. I don't mean it that way. As in, I've experienced it. Also, one of my favorite bars is in Atlanta, Red Phone Booth. So that's my fun little spot that I try and hit up after a game. Just got to make you aware.
No worries. I understand that. Nate, how are you?
Is this going to work now? Is this finally working?
Yeah. We got you. You're there.
Every time I tried to open my mouth, I was on my phone and it would kick me off. So
darned phone.
All I know, John, is you asked me if I still love soccer, and of course, the answer is yeah. You know where that T-shirt comes from? The original Leagues Cup. They sold merch the first year of the Leagues Cup, and they had that shirt on display, and I was like, I have to own that. I mean, it's too brilliant. How are you guys? Thanks for the patience.
Oh, no worries. I'm down with OPP. You know me. So the ground rules here. I know that you guys are going to be spending a lot of time together. So the way that the Show of Chaos works is that when we have a guest join to turn it into a three-way dance, the guest that was there before you has to have a question for you, the new person coming in, and then they can leave and go about their day. So, and it can be a question about anything. Look, it could be about laundry and dress shirts or whatever, or, gasoline preferences, what have you, or what it's like at a Wawa. I don't care. There has to be a question from Devon Kerr to Nate Bukaty that can resonate throughout this planetary system of ours so he can leave and go about his day. Your question, sir.
I'm going to keep it league specific, believe it or not. I would be curious to know, in Nate's opinion, although they're very early, we'll tell you we don't speculate about what teams are going to do. I would like to know who you think right now, what conference is going to take down MLS Cup. Will it be West, East? Are we going to go back and forth again, or do we think that the East has the opportunity to repeat, regardless of team?
Well, I had to fill out some predictions for Galazzo Network yesterday, and they asked me for my MLS Cup winner, and I picked LAFC. So I guess I better stick with that pick, right? So I got to say Western Conference. I think the East has been the beast, right? Especially last year, and I think again this year. Although I think there's a little tumult in the Eastern Conference going into this season. I think overall it's the better conference, but I just think Son and Bouanga, give them a year together and some of the moves they've made. I mean, hey, it's a bold prediction because we don't know what they're going to look like under Dos Santos. We know they're going to change the way they play a little bit. But you know me, Devin, I got to go bold and daring with my picks. And so, it's easy to pick Inter Miami to repeat. I'm going with the LAFC. So I think it's going to go to the West this time around.
Okay. There you go. That's the early answer from Nate. Devin, the chains have been broken. You may now walk back through the portal of Stargate SG1 or go back into the Doctor Who phone booth and go about your day of research and take Terrence over to Skyline and just make sure that he spills it on a white dress shirt. That's all we ask.
As long as it's not dress shirt, we're good. Thank you for having me, John. Nate, I'll see you in a little bit, buddy.
All right.
Keep training, pal.
All right, so there goes Devon Kerr. He has survived his debut in the Show of Chaos. Nate has survived technology, and he's now hanging out with him. Look, brother, I'm the first person to sit here and say I'm 128 years old. Don't trust me with technology. It's not going to happen. And so I'm right there with you when it comes to all those kinds of things going down. I do have to ask a question before we get into this matchup that you're with, that guy that we just talked to.
Yeah.
I forget his name. You know, he was wearing a hat.
Not important.
Yeah, exactly. I have to ask what's going on at Sporting because of your history there and how you are regarded in that footprint for fans there in Sporting. Shallowy departs. It's a good financial deal, I think, for the franchise, but he now goes to Toronto. You bring in Taylor Calera from FC Tulsa on a deal. I think top 5 was USL Championship transfers. I think that was what was mentioned. What in the wide world of sports is going on at Sporting Kansas City?
Well, I think the first thing you have to consider is there's an ownership transition going on. The big news came out that there's one of the wealthiest men in Kansas City by the name of Peter Maluk. He's a founder of a company called Creative Planning. And the reports out there, if you look online, say he's worth upwards of $13 billion, has just purchased the team from Cliff Illig and the rest of the ownership group. Now, those owners are still going to have a stake in the club, but Maluk is going to be the principal owner going forward. As of now, they say that Cliff Illig and his son Mike are still running the day-to-day of the club, but they're no longer the majority owners of the team. And that's a dynamic I think that we're going to have to see unfold and how that power dynamic works in the long term. And so I think transitions are almost always awkward and difficult, right? And so I think that my read is that's kind of where the club stands right now, is it's in a bit of a transition, not just a bit of a transition. I mean, heck, Peter Vermees was the club for, 17 years? Peter Vermees, to put into perspective what he was to Sporting Kansas City, the man as either a player, technical director, or coach was involved in over 80% of the matches ever played in the organization's history. And we're not talking about an expansion side. We're talking about one of the original founding clubs in Major League Soccer. That's how integrated he was with the team. And by the time he was let go, he was pretty much running everything. Technical director, head coach, he started the academy system. His fingerprints are on everything in the building and on the field, and they're transitioning away from him as a head coach. Now they got Rafa Vicky in, and now the new director of soccer operations is David Lee, who was with NYC. So there's transition all the way throughout the organization. And I think Daniel Shallowy's sale to Toronto is almost like it signifies that this is a clean start, that this is a guy that was the last remaining member of one of the trophy winning teams for Sporting Kansas City. Their last trophy came in 2017, and now he's gone, and now it's time to start anew, but they barely have a roster. I think they've got work to do to get roster compliant. They don't have enough players right now. And from the people I talked to in New York, David Lee's kind of, it's a little bit of his MO to be patient, I guess is the generous way to put it when it comes to bringing players in, but they've got a lot of work to do. One thing, John, to kind of tie back to Atlanta, there are to me some similarities between what Sporting Kansas City did from 2010 to 2017-ish, really that first 3-4 year period where they were pioneers in the league, that theirs was more about facilities, building the stadium, introducing a style of play that's aggressive and everything. And building not just a stadium, but a state-of-the-art stadium that other people would want to emulate, that people thought was kind of crazy at the time. It worked in Kansas City, and now you look around the league, and I'm about to do a game in a stadium that I think was very much modeled after what they did in Kansas City here in Cincinnati. And Cliff Illig told me at that time, we're not going to be the last team to build a stadium like this. We won't have the best stadium in the league for very long because other teams are going to not just take what we did, but take it and build on it. And that's the way it should be in the league. And I think Atlanta did that with kind of the economic model, right? Coming in, spending big money on young player like Miguel Almiron and Joseph Martinez, turning that around into a big investment, winning big in an aggressive way. And now all of a sudden you look at other teams in the league that took that same model and grew it even more. And now I think both, Kansas City and Atlanta have had to kind of rediscover that mojo, so to speak, because they're not competing against the same league that they were when they had all their success.
fellow techno wizard Nate Bukaty hanging out with us here as he and Devon Kerr getting ready to call FCC and Atlanta United on the weekend, kind of taking the tour around the league, since this is the first time that we can grab Nate before the season kicks off and talk about stuff. And that's the official term, stuff. Atlanta and FCC, what's study hall been like for you with these two teams getting ready for this one tomorrow?
Well, first of all, when we get our assignments, I got this one and I was really excited right off the bat because I think it's a really intriguing matchup with a lot of great storylines. You know, Devon, you've already had a chance to talk with him. The guy is a tactical, savant, so to speak. I mean, he sees the game so differently than me that it makes it great working with him because he points out things that I'm not looking for in the game, right? Mm-hmm. And I see the game. He sees where everybody's positioned and the spacing on the field and all of that. And I'm seeing the game in storylines. So, like, for example, the biggest storyline for me is these are two teams that think they can get better this year from a year ago. And not necessarily because they brought in some big name player that's going to turn things around. That was the case with Atlanta last year. Yeah. Spent a bunch of money on some big players. Now we're going to be back to being good. Obviously, I know it didn't turn out that way. And for Cincinnati, that last year, it's like you bring in Evander, you bring in Denke. That's why we're going to be better. This year, it's more about the technical side. Obviously, for Atlanta, you don't have to do too much digging to figure that out. It's Tata Martino. But for Cincinnati, it's on the assistant coaching side. Dom Kinnear is one of the all-time legendary coaches in Major League Soccer, universally respected, but they let him go after the season. And they felt like they needed to bring in a little more analytical approach to their attack. Because for Cincinnati, they feel like, okay, we got great goals from Denke and Evander, who both vastly outperformed their XG last year. They were reliant on moments of individual brilliance to score their goals. But they weren't really creating many chances and getting the ball inside the penalty area at all. Part of that's because Evander likes to pull the trigger from outside of the penalty area. But they changed the coaching staff a little bit. They're looking to create more chances through their style of play rather than just relying on their two-star players to do all the work. And obviously at Atlanta United, I think they're looking to overhaul everything with the coaching staff from a tactical standpoint and a mentality standpoint. So how big of a difference can the coaches make? I think that's a huge storyline for both teams coming in. Another great storyline in this for me is you've got a fan base that loves their team here in Cincinnati going up against what was a bogey team for them last year in Atlanta United. And let's not forget the storyline of Latte Loth and Nick Hagelin and what happened last year. Nick Hagelin is like one of those just beloved figures here in Cincinnati. I don't even know if there's an analogous figure in Atlanta. Maybe you tell me if there is. There was a guy in Kansas City named Seth Sinovic who played left back, and every year they looked to replace him, but every year he just kept holding on to his job. And it was just because of work ethic and being earnest and being reliable and all those things that the fans kind of love. And that's Hagelin. And, he suffers 2 broken ribs and a collapsed lung in that situation with Latte Loth last year. I think that makes for a storyline. Let's see how everybody reacts out there. So with all that, I just think there's a lot of intrigue in this game, and I'm really excited about it.
All right. So since you mentioned Western Conference was going to be the winner at the end of it all, to grab the Nate Bukaty glass trophy at the end of the season, then let's get into the Eastern Conference, since that's where you are this week. And when you look at the Eastern Conference, I know you kind of gravitate toward Messi and friends and what you're looking at there in Fort Lauderdale. Who's the chase pack? If we wanted to treat this like that Tour de France thing, who's the chase pack if going up the mountain right now, it's what we see in Fort Lauderdale? Who's in the chase pack, you think?
Well, the thing that I think is so impressive about the Eastern Conference, outside of the fact that obviously Miami are the new team that's disrupting the economic model of the league and everything, is it's just a gauntlet. I mean, last year, it's hard to find. I mean, there's a couple teams at the bottom that were flat out bad teams. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, man, I mean, so many good teams. And from my perspective, look, I haven't called an Inter Miami game yet. So I know them less, honestly, than I do all the other teams. Devon and I have had a lot of Orlando City games, for example, over the past couple of years. I know them really well. When you say who are the other teams that could be in the contention, I guess you have to say Philadelphia, right? I mean, they won the Supporter Shield last year. I'm going to be interested to see if they can maintain it. I think that's a good question this season. I think Cincinnati should be in the mix. They should be very good defensively. Again, they've got two of the best attacking players, but they have lost some significant pieces from last year. So what's this new attack going to look like for them? I think Columbus is going to fall off a little bit, but they have a brand new coach and a new style of play, so I'm not really sure what they're going to look like. I'm just kind of going down in my head. Orlando City losing Freeman and then losing their team captain and center back for the year right before the season starts, that's the type of thing that can derail a season. Last year, for example, Houston, they lose Mikael right before the season starts with no chance to replace him, and that ruined their entire year. They never recovered from that. I'm not rooting for that to happen in Orlando, and I think Oscar Pareja is one of the best coaches in the history of the league, honestly.
Yeah.
But that could be the case. They're going to have to really sort some things out, because otherwise I would have said that's a team that maybe can compete. The team that I think people should really keep an eye out for is Nashville.
Okay.
And the reason why is because we know Suraj and Mukhtar are dynamic players, but we also know that they've not really had much help through their time together. Suraj finally started to have success last year. He still underperformed his XG. It wasn't like he outperformed it. But they bring in Christian Espinoza, who I don't know if this is a contradiction in terms, but I call him like the most under the radar superstar in the league.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Right? Because if you're watching the games and you're paying attention like you are and you watch him play, you know how good he is. He plays all the time, but he's stuck in this I mean, let's be honest, San Jose's been kind of a purgatory.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden, the one thing they've really needed in Nashville is somebody out wide who can actually really create chances for them. Because everything with Mukhtar and Suraj comes through the middle. You add a piece that can do that, and I think he led the league in chance creation last year. And I think for everything that I hear, the players have completely bought in with BJ Callahan and his approach. They have an identity and a direction that they're headed. That could be the kind of piece that takes them from a pretty darn good team to a team that maybe is able to compete. So that's kind of the team I'm circling. But I will bring it back to you on this. And I'm starting to fall for it again with Atlanta.
Okay.
I'm not saying MLS Cup contender.
Right.
But last year I did. I thought MLS Cup contender with the money that they splashed, and I have egg all over my face for it. But I do think, and you know better than me, but from my 30,000-foot view, I do think that mentality was a huge problem. There was that I did not see a team that was committed and bought in. I mean, the manager himself said that multiple times. I didn't see a manager who was committed and bought in after a while. It seemed like he had kind of thrown his hands up. And I didn't see them ever figuring out a way to get those star attacking DPs to fit together. And I'm not sure they do. That's the one question I have. I think Maranchuk is a conundrum for them. But if Tata can find a way to get those guys in the positions, especially Latte Lath and Almiron, in the positions where they need space and real estate to attack because of their pace, and if they can be a little more responsible in the defensive midfield and on the back line, which I think they will under Tata, there's a roster there that's got real talent, right? And why couldn't they be one of those teams that's competing for one of the playoff spots this year? I don't know. I'm maybe it's because I'm doing all my prep and I'm listening to Tata and I'm getting wound up about it, but I'm kind of falling for it again. I'm falling for Atlanta United again a little bit.
All right, one more question, and I will let you go because I know that you are kind of having to do things on the hop on a T-1, and I really appreciate it. You mentioned the purple team. I don't know if we necessarily mention the O word here in this market when it comes to rivals in the Eastern Conference.
Sorry.
Oscar Pareja, before the season started, there was in the preseason gathering, he was not a happy man about personnel and what he was trying to chase after. And then you bring in 3 U22s, all from Brazil, which I thought was mind-bending for me. And I thought that was one of those things to keep an eye out for. What about for you?
Yeah, well, and if I remember correctly, the ownership group is from Brazil.
Yeah.
And I felt like there's been a little bit of angst between Oscar and the director of soccer operations, Muzzy, right?
Yeah, Luis Muzzy, yeah.
Sorry. I'm so focused on my game right now. The wheels are turning. It seemed to me like there was always kind of like this weird hesitancy to extend Oscar's contracts the last couple of years, which seemed crazy to me considering how much success they'd had under Oscar. And when he's been the manager, they're going to the playoffs every year, right? I know there's been disappointment in the postseason, but it just always seemed to me like there was a little angst there. And I think what you're describing right now could be that boiling up to another level. They collapsed down the stretch last year, which really surprised me. And then making those moves, it doesn't seem like they're on the same page. So, yeah, I think there could be some problems in Orlando. We'll see how it plays out. But you lose those two pieces on your back line, and if you have discontent and they're not on the same page, the Eastern Conference is not very forgiving. So if you're not on the same page, as you guys saw last year, it can go south in a minute.
Nate, great to see you, my friend. We're going to catch up with Keith because Keith has to hop on a flight, and I don't want to keep him in the concourse.
I don't get to ask him a question?
You got a question to ask Keith Costigan? You go for it, man. Hit it.
Well, listen, he gets to strut around as a Liverpool fan with all these trophies, and I'm a long-suffering Arsenal fan. Are we going to blow it, Keith? Is my side going to blow it this year, or can we still win this damn thing?
You know what? Up until the Wolves game, I was like, "There's no chance." I travel with Mo. Mo's an Arsenal fan. I was like, "Look, you guys have the league in the bag." The Wolves draw the other day was the first moment I said, "You should be nervous. You should be really, really nervous." And I'm sad I'm not involved in the title race, but I'm gonna watch you guys implode a little bit over the last couple of weeks and at least sweat it out. So it's gonna be a fun end to the season.
Wow.
Wiki bum time.
Wow. Fantastic. Nate, you know the garage. You got the garage door and the key under the mat. You know where it is. You can crash anytime. Good to see you, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Hey, you're getting an upgrade now. You know, you just traded in a TAM player for a DP with that.
Wow.
On, so.
Wow. Okay. Good to see you, Nate. Thanks again. Looking forward to Nate's call with Devon Kerr. And I know that you got to hop on a flight, so I know that this is going to be on the hop on our end. Did you get the dog walk in before you got to the airport?
I did. And so the way I work it is my wife dropped me to the airport. So the plan is I walk the dog to the gate of our community. She comes, picks us up, and he's in the back, so I have to say goodbye to him. So it's kind of like that last little moments with my best friend before I leave. But excited to be back on the road, Vancouver this weekend. Thomas Muller, first full season in MLS. We know the impact he had last year, and RSL trying to rebuild as well after a disciplined campaign. So excited to be back at it.
And obviously, you and I have been talking about this for a long time, but the fact that you get up at the crack, we get up, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning for you. And I'm not going to sit here and say, Keith, at 6:30 in the morning on a Friday, come on in. I'm glad that we got to have this chance. I know that we're going to kind of go rapid fire here a little bit. With Vancouver and RSL, you got to mention that one. What else are your storylines coming into 26 in the Western Conference off the top of your head?
LAFC, new manager. You know, anytime we talk about LAFC, you say, well, they're going to be successful, but new manager brings change. Like, what are we going to see? We saw in CONCACAF Champions Cup a couple of days ago, a front three. We'd seen a back three for a long period of time for LAFC. So are we going to see David Martinez? Because I think he is low-key one of those elite attacking players that needs to burst out and be more consistent. So I'm looking at LAFC. I'm looking at Seattle. Like, are they going to be a challenger again? Because I thought in Major League Soccer play, they weren't last year. They were kind of on the edge of the title race, but never really involved. And Portland's another one I'm looking at too. I don't know what direction they're going to go in. They lost Ajala. There's some question marks about that front group as well. I think this was the year Phil Neville thought they were going to take the step and become a top four team. I don't know if they have enough in them. So there's some of the major storylines I'm looking at in the West this year.
All right, so let me flip it to the East since we don't get to see you a whole lot. Eastern Conference, what's on your mind?
Well, Atlanta, because you have the man who brought you to the Holy Grail back, and that's great, but it's a very different menu that he's dealing with this time. So is this squad capable of, are we going to say at the end of the season, wow, the other managers really underachieved, Tata knew how to get the best out of this group? Or are we going to say this is really a poor group that was put together and the manager needs more? So I'm excited to see that with Atlanta. Columbus Crew, new manager, first time without Darlington Nagbe. That's going to be weird. They just announced he's going to be the development coach for them in terms of working with individual players. I'm interested to see that because Darlington is definitely not underappreciated by us guys that work MLS week in, week out. But I think maybe, the casual fan doesn't realize how important he was to that group. So I'm excited to see how they do without him as well. And, Inter Miami, Bertarami coming in, elite striker in Liga MX play. I mean, just the rich get richer, right? But how he's going to interact with Messi and make them maybe not just a contender in Major League Soccer, but a CONCACAF Champions Cup contender as well.
So when you look at how they are doing things in Fort Lauderdale, financially, I mean, it's like, and everybody sits there and wonders how they can fit everybody under the cap. Their capologist must be a warlock, whatever, you want to say. What is your thought pattern on how they're approaching things? Are you of, let them do their thing and everybody else do your thing and, ne'er the twain shall meet, whatever? Or how do you look at what's going on with Fort Lauderdale financially?
Yeah, I've always been, if I was in that position, if I was a GM, if I was an owner, I'd be pushing to the limit of exactly what we can do. And we were there at the final last year and we talked to ownership and their first thought was like, we're going to build on this. We're going to be the best team in this region. Then we're going to take. So you cannot say as a league, as a fan, you don't want people like that as part of your group because you want teams that want to be the best. You want clubs that want to go out and spend money. And I would imagine the ones that are afraid of that are the owners that perhaps don't want to put that investment into their clubs. And they're not exactly the kind of people that fans get, excited about in terms of running their club. So I like what they're doing. Obviously, there's rules. I'm not advocating breaking rules, but you push it to the limit. You find ways to make sure that, you're going to go out and get the very best players because selfishly, I'm going to cover Inter Miami a couple of times over the next few weeks. I want to see these great players play. I want to see this league continue to grow. And I don't think anybody can question that Inter Miami are looking to grow this league and grow their team as well. So it's exciting times.
All right, we have our next guest in the queue. You don't know who it is. I know who it is. You're in an airport. This individual is not. And the ground rules, once again, for you to exit and make your flight, Keith Costigan, you have to have a question for Tony Husband. So, Keith, your question for Tony would be when Tony's having the same problems Nate was having. Literally, it was
Tony
like
sucked. Tony saw me and left. So I thought I was the one that would do the Irish exit. It was actually Tony who did it.
Oh man! Wow.
My question for Tony would be, because I think Tony knows the Nashville scene better than anywhere. I'm looking at that Espinosa coming in, Reed Baker Whiting. My question would be, does he think Nashville can take that next step this year? Like, what's success for a Nashville side this season?
Okay, so when Tony
if he ever gets back.
Yeah, I know. Well, I have your question, so I don't want you to miss your flight. So I give you an excused absence. I have the question. I have it right here. Karnak has it. We're good to go. As always, my friend, it's great to see you, especially when you make those rare transmissions over the Mississippi River and come and visit us in Atlanta. Don't be a stranger. Frankly, I'd love to have you drop by when you're out walking the dog on a Friday morning.
100%.
Doors
he
open.
Would love it too.
Look, doors open, and I'd love to see the subdivision when you're out there at the crack of before dawn. Have a safe flight, and we're going to enjoy Vancouver and RSL this weekend. Thanks for dropping by.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, and thanks for the support.
There goes Keith Costigan, everybody. And it is I don't want Keith to miss his flight. That's the biggest thing. I didn't want Keith to miss his flight. And I don't know what it is this morning. It might be something with technology in general, but Nate was having problems. And Tony's having problems. Maybe it's Nashville. I don't know. But Tony Husband was in the queue, and then he started talking, and then technology happened. So I have the question. I have the question for Tony on behalf of Keith, and I'm writing it down so I don't forget it. So there we go. Next steps. Okay, so that's from Keith to Tony. So it's almost like a Christmas card. So we'll see what happens here. Is technology going to behave, Tony?
Good morning. Can you hear me, John?
You're good, man. It's all good.
Well, that's it. I enjoyed your conversation with Keith, and then you brought me in, and then my whole system just crashed.
Well, I have Keith's question for you, because as you well know, on the shows of chaos, when it's a hot tag, you have to have a question and then you can leave. And Keith had a flight that I didn't want him to miss because Mo would never let him hear the end of it. So his question for you, as he was catching a flight, with the acquisitions of Christian Espinoza and Reed Baker Whiting, do you think that Nashville SC is going to take that next step this season?
It depends what he's saying is the next step. I mean, where do they go from being one of the top teams in the East, and they won the US Open Cup? I have them in the top 4 in the East this season. I think they're definitely got to go into the season as a contender. Espinoza does give them an extra dimension. So I think, yes, they do. Reed Baker Whiting is a very Nashville kind of signing. Young player, a player who they believe they can lift the ceiling on, and, you know, we can see a bit more than what the talent we've already seen with him. You know, that is very much the MO of Mike Jacobs, Nashville's president of soccer operations, to find these players and give them an opportunity to really shoot for the stars. So I think the answer to Keith's question, I suppose, in the roundabout way, would be to say, yes, I do think they can go to the next level as they go into this season.
I don't have the roster in front of me. What is your travel itinerary, sir? Where are you tomorrow?
I'm actually in Nashville tomorrow. I'm just heading off shortly, actually, to go and see BJ Callahan and the Nashville group. We spoke to Marko Mitrovic in New England yesterday. So the Revs are here, start of a big season for them, in a big year, of course. And then I will be in Dallas next weekend, where I will also actually see Nashville. So I get the first couple of weeks to see how the boys in gold get on with Espinoza and co. And it'll be interesting to dip into the Western Conference nice and early as well.
So you get the home game, but the Revs are coming to town to Geodis. With what you've been able to glean from the early returns with the Revs, what are you anticipating from them this year?
Well, it's a big year for them after a really rotten last couple of seasons, to be honest, for them, John. You know, it just didn't work under Caleb Porter for whatever reason. The roster just had a complete purge, and the whole team that was, remember, in the summer of 2023, this team was one of the best teams in the league, and then everything just kind of fell apart for all manner of reasons, starting with Bruce Arena's, of course, protracted departure from the club. Caleb Porter came in and set out his stall that he felt he needed to really refresh the roster. He kind of did that for 2 seasons, but then when he'd done that, they then decided to part ways with him, which I always find slightly curious in football. When if you're going to say to somebody, well, yes, we'll let you redo the whole thing, but then we're not actually going to let you work with what you've done. But of course, it's the ultimate reminder that you need results, even when you're doing a rebuild. So now Marko Mitrovic comes in. The sounding's very good from preseason. I mean, most clubs do feel positive after preseason in general, but they've been scoring some goals. The likes of Leo Campana has scored 5 in 5 in preseason. They brought in Brooklyn Reigns, who I know they're very high on, who will sit in midfield for them this season. That's a big improvement for them. Griffin Yao has come back to the league as after a spell in Belgium. Some people might remember him from his young days at DC United. Again, a player with a high ceiling there. A number of players as well have worked with Mitrovic in his time with the US under-20s. I think that's a significant thing. So it's going to be a younger New England Revolution group this year. But I still think, to be honest, an awful lot of it comes back to one of the oldies, and that's 33-year-old Carlos Gil, because I think still so much depends upon his mastery, sitting in the hole there in the 10 spot and actually, making a difference. And if he has a good year, and he seems very re-energized in his public comments going into the season, I think if he has a good year, then that helps the Revs have a good year. And if we're going to go on the over 30s as well, I should not call them oldies really, but over 30s. Matt Turner in goal as well, on loan up until June. Obviously a massive few months for him and anybody who's still looking to try and get on Mauricio Pochettino's roster for the World Cup.
When it comes to the rest of the Eastern Conference, I like I said, I know that the shiny object, that's there. We know that that's there. They've reloaded in the offseason, the folks that wear pink down in Fort Lauderdale. We know that the Herons are going to do their thing. who in your mind could quote unquote surprise in the Eastern Conference from, say, last year where they finished in the standings to being in 26? Who could surprise in quotation marks?
Well, I'll go with that. We get asked to do our predictions, which are very difficult to do in this league, almost impossible really to try and say in February and early February, who is going to be sitting on top of the mountain by December.
So folks can have that document and sit there and say, well, you said this in February and yeah.
I've had it already. Don't worry, John. It's already been thrown back at me. But so somebody will be a surprise. And so I looked and thought, you know what? I wonder whether Chicago could be. I mean, I just think Chicago will be better than they were last year. They got into the playoffs, ending that long playoff run last year. And I just fancy that Chicago might have a really good year. Second year under Greg Berhalter. The soundings again coming out of preseason sounds like offensively they're pretty excited with what they're doing. And there's a DP spot open there with a possible Robert Lewandowski name on the back of the shirt come the summer. Who knows? But I just feel that they're a club at the moment. They've got the new stadium coming down the track. That's underway. Greg Berhalter goes into his second year. He's back in the league and understands this league and knows what works. So they are kind of my surprise packaging as far as I think they could be a little higher up the East than most of my colleagues have put. I mean, I think I might have even pushed them up as far as a surprise kind of second place in the East, which is pushing it. That's pushing that ceiling very high. But I'm allowing in for the vagaries of a season and other teams having busier schedules as well with CONCACAF and all those kind of things. And I always factor in that kind of stuff when thinking about a team's prospects.
I like vagaries. Okay, our next guest is in. And since you have done the show of chaos before, you know the ground rules. For you to exit, when this person comes in, you have to have a question for this individual. And like I said, I just saw who it is. So we're learning together. And in an airport, it's Cello.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Good to see you. And he's disappeared again.
Oh,
Do you know what, John? When we bring three on, this is what happens. It crashes the system.
Man.
Well, it's lovely to see Cello because I haven't seen him for a while. He'll come back and probably vanish again. But he's as elusive as he was on the field.
And so question for Cello from Tony so Tony can leave is what?
I would like to know how he feels the Colorado Rapids will get on in another new era, and is this the start of
You're good.
An upturn in the Rapids future? I think that's the most obvious question that springs to mind when I see that face in an airport as well. I better jump out as well so you can let him jump in.
Go for it. Go jump out. Like I said, don't be a stranger right here, and you're good. And we'll see you soon, my friend. Thanks for coming in.
Cheers, John.
All right, there goes Tony. Here comes Cello on the hot tag. And question from Tony before his meeting. Cello, Tony wanted to know what you think the Rapids are going to do this year. Man, what is it with technology? Oh, it's like I'm gonna have issues. I'm gonna have a conversation with folks. So Cello, I'm gonna ask you quick. Tony Husband's question for you is the Rapids. What do you think is going to happen this year? Airports. So Cello, Tony wants to know about the Rapids. What do you think? Cello, you got your ears on. All right, we can hear you. We can hear the airport. Cello, you hopping on a plane? What's going on? Can you hear us? Cello, you got your ears on. Oh, nuts. This is going to be fun. Okay. So it is fighting technology at DIA. It is Marcelo Balboa. And so we are trying to effort him before he hops on a plane, kind of like we did with Keith Costigan. And we'll find out what's going on. Hi. Oh, nuts. You think you have something? Man, I look, Cello gets the MVP for being this patient and logging in as much as he is. So You got your ears on, Cello. Wow. Cello, I can hear you. If you you don't have to do video, if that will help. Let's put it that way. You're good in your current form.
Sounded like Mickey Mouse. Is that better?
You're good. I can hear you fine. Yeah, you're good. I mean, look, I just need to hear you. It's all good. I know you're in an airport.
I'll give it a whirl. Yes, I think the Colorado Rapids. I heard the question. I think the Rapids. It's going to be an interesting season. New coach, new players, trying to get a new identity. So I have them in the 7, 8, 9 spot right now in the West.
Okay. Other big storylines for you in 26 in the Western Conference. What is top of mind for you as we get ready for 26?
Oh, God, I think Chucky Lozano with San Diego. The whole fallout, not having a team yet. I think LAFC and what can they do? Can Vancouver repeat what they did last year now with Mueller? Did they have him for a full year? Yeah, there's a lot of, I think, storylines when you lose Vargas and you're Seattle. How do you recover? How do you fill that void of what Seattle's going to be missing in the midfield? I think you just keep looking around the room. Oscar Pareja will go to the East. Oscar Pareja's on a hot seat already of what's going on there. So this is the mayhem you wanted, right?
Well, I mean, kind of, sort of gives us stuff to talk about. Who in your mind is the most underrated head coach in Major League Soccer?
Oh, you know what? That's a good question because I think we have 7 new coaches, 7+ new coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see. I think there's going to be a lot of coaches that are underestimated this year because we don't know what they can do. You know what I mean? Look at Colorado with Wells. Good coach, good pedigree. He comes from Tottenham. We got to see what he can do. So Dos Santos, I think, is probably the one that we're going to look at this year because he was in Vancouver and now he's taken over Cherundolo. He's taken over, one of the best teams in the West. So I think there's a lot of interesting coaches that you can say who are going to maybe have a breakout year with their teams.
Let me ask you about Tata Martino version 2.0. What's your gut feeling about Atlanta United?
With what? I didn't hear that. Sorry.
About Tata Martino 2.0 and Atlanta United.
You can never do as well as you did the first time unless you win a championship. So the expectation now is, can he repeat and win a championship? Can he take this team from a non-playoff team to let's say, a playoff contender and bring it back to the premiere of what we expect Atlanta United to be when he was the first time under Tata, making the playoffs, fighting for championships, fighting for Open Cups, fighting for Leagues Cups, fighting for trophies. So I think he's got a handful of better players. I think his tactics will be better, but him and Chris Henderson have some work to do, but I think they'll be much better this year.
Who in the West do you think will be much better this year?
Who will be better in the West this year? That's a good question because, it's pretty, when you look at the West, it's pretty balanced out. You know what I mean? So I think you have to look at maybe a Sporting Kansas City that couldn't get any worse, right? So I think Sporting Kansas City will be better. I think St. Louis will be better, new coach. So I think those two will probably be the teams that we'll see doing a little bit better this year.
We're going into year 31 of Major League Soccer. What has it been like for you to see the league grow to this point where we're going into a World Cup at the midpoint of a season in this hemisphere?
Yeah, I think we're going into a great year, 31 years, and look how much we've grown, how much, when you look at when we started playing in 96, you look at playing at Old Invesco, Old Mile High. We played at the Ohio Horseshoe, you look at stadiums like that, and now we sit here 30 years later with teams that are in the Forbes top 20 of franchises. You look at probably state-of-the-art facilities all over the country with MLS teams, state-of-the-art stadiums that are soccer-specific stadiums. We are bringing in players like Messi, Thierry Henry, David Beckham. Look at the players that we've brought in. So we sit here in a much better place, but with still a lot of growth. I think we got to stop with we've grown so much, but there's still so much more to grow with MLS to opening up the purse strings a little bit and loosening up the salary cap and letting teams spend money that they want to spend. Um, so yeah, I think that we sit in a very good place in a World Cup year, and the only thing the World Cup year, hopefully, with these young men that are going to represent the U.S. in the World Cup, will be able to take this sport of ours, this beautiful sport of ours, to the next level. And that means at least a quarterfinal.
Man has laid down the gauntlet. Where are you flying to, by the way?
I am flying to San Diego. I got San Diego, Montreal. And you wanted mayhem. I'm at the airport. I've been in line for 45 minutes. The security machine broke down. Everything you could have on the first day of MLS. You got to love it, my friend.
Absolutely. Cello, as always, it's great to have you on with us. It can be outside the show of chaos, and we'd love for you to visit whenever you can swing it on a Friday when you're not stuck in an airport, not moving forward through a security line.
You have my number. You can call anytime. I would love to join you guys on Friday and talk MLS.
Awesome. Cello, may the line move and may they plug it back in and reboot everything and get to your flight so you can go down to the Murph Dragon and see what's going on with San Diego and Montreal. Thanks again, my friend.
Thanks, brother. Take care.
There goes Marcelo Balboa. He made it. He actually made it. Technology be damned. All right, so let me see if we can get this. Let me see if we can get the rundown here for what we did. So it was Marcelo Balboa. I'm going backwards. Marcelo Balboa, Keith Costigan, Tony Husband, Nate Bukaty, Devon Kerr, Kyndra de St. Aubin, and I know I'm missing folks, and that's going to bug me. So Nate Bukaty, Devon Kerr, Keith Costigan, Kyndra de St. Aubin, Tony Husband, Marcelo Balboa. I think we got it. That's a show of chaos, folks. Chaos with folks logging in like Nate Bukaty trying to do it off his phone, being stuck in a hotel in Cincinnati, and the concrete misbehaving. And then we have Marcelo Balboa in a security line at Denver International Airport, and the machine breaks down. So I cannot thank Kirk Reynolds enough at Major League Soccer for helping out with the show of chaos. That's fun. It always is. So you got all of that to get ready for everything. Remember, Devon Kerr needs food suggestions for when he and Nate Bukaty come to town in a couple of weeks. So that's on the menu, pardon the pun. And we're getting ready for Atlanta and FC Cincinnati. Once again, remember that at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app, it is going to be, and it's listed at 4:45. So to me, that means it's a 4:55. So 3:30 pregame with Maddie and Abe to start. Mike and Jason with the call. They are at TQL, and they will have, obviously, a booth over. It will be Nate and Devon. And 4:55, after that, it will be the full-time report, once again, with Abe and Maddie. And then that's when our coverage goes off and running. So that's where we are with that. Let's take a look at the juice boxes one more time. Where we stand, we'll go back over the Josh Sargent news, see if there's been anything that has advanced. Has he made his way across the Atlantic? Has he boarded the Concorde? Has he gone into a transmogrifier? Is he ready to go? So we'll find out. Okay, St. Louis City, and Charlotte FC. City is favored at a plus 141. Jess Charman and Ian Joy are going to have that one for you. Charlotte's a plus 174 on the road and plus 254 for the draw. And I'm trying to see if we have the announced teams laid out for us here for week number 1. So as we go, and that's why I was asking as we went who's going to be where. For Atlanta and Cincinnati, match number 2, it's going to be 4:55 because if it's listed in the juice boxes at 4:45, add 10 minutes. FC Cincinnati on the minus side at minus 122, draws a plus 276. Atlanta United just now north of plus 300. That has spread out a little bit over the week. DC and Philly, 740 at DC. DC's a plus 210, draws a plus 259. Philadelphia's a plus 118. Purple team and the Red Bulls. Purple team a minus 106 at home, plus 254, draw. Red Bulls a plus 280. Vancouver and RSL with Keith and Mo. That one's also at 740. Vancouver's a minus 161. Draws a plus 315. RSL's a plus 390. Austin and Minnesota. And if I remember correctly, it's Callum and Kyndra. So Kyndra is going to Austin at a plus 131. Draws a plus 231. Minnesota's a plus 204. FCD and Toronto. Dallas a plus 112, draws a plus 250. Toronto is a plus 224. Now, let's see if there's anything on Josh Sargent before we go, in addition to what we reported this morning. See if anything is any closer. So Florian Plettenberg, nothing updating there, still saying it's a done deal. But once again, remember the number floating anywhere between $22 and $27 million. Don't know if that's add-ons or what, but I've seen $22 million. I've seen $27 million. Big investment either way, with Josh Sargent looking like he is heading to, if physicals are approved and everything like that, I's crossed, T's dotted, that Josh Sargent now goes with Daniel Shallowy and goes to Toronto. 2 moves on back-to-back days. Philippe Clement, in his press conference this morning, was not going to speculate on Josh Sargent's move from Norwich. Quote, "I'm not busy with Toronto. We have a game tomorrow." That's his quote. So that's where we are currently with Josh Sargent. Finalized a deal. Mihailovic, Cifuentes, Osorio, Shallowy, Sargent. So that's what you're staring at with those. So it looks like, according to other sources, and look at these are not sources that have a boatload of numbers attached, that it looks like it is 20 plus 7. So that might be where we get the 27. 20 plus 7 is what it's looking like for Josh Sargent. So we'll keep an eye out on any other moments that could let us know where the financials fly with Josh Sargent. But right now, like I said, 22 to 27 are the numbers that we've seen. Folks are saying it's 20 plus 7. Other folks are saying 22. So it might be 22 plus 5, might be somewhere in translation. 840, KCD and Christian Miles, Houston and Chicago. Dynamo a plus 136. Fire a plus 181. Draws a plus 254. Tony Husband is going to be a home game. He's got Nashville and the Revs. Nashville a minus 156. Draws a plus 300. Revs are a plus 376. Jake and TT, Saturday Night Soccer. Andrew Wiebe has been transferred from Sunday to Saturday. LAFC and Messi and friends at the Mausoleum. Michelle Kaufman reporting yesterday Messi looks like he's going to be able to play. LAFC plus 108. Draws a plus 270. Messi and friends are a plus 221. Portland and Crew, and you heard what was mentioned about Darlington Nagbe. That came across in our press releases that we were staring at. Individual development coach across the Crew player pathway, working with all levels of the Crew's pathway from the first team to the academy groups with a focus on creating customized improvement plans tailored to the needs of each player. Oh, Michael Parkhurst. Yeah, we had Michael Parkhurst on as well. So, quote from Issa Tall in the release, quote from Darlington Nagbe, assisting coaches in delivery of positional, unit, and team-specific training sessions while helping align the individual development plans with on-field instruction, a reflection of the club's continued commitment to player-focused development model. So that's Darlington Nagbe's new gig. Driver, looks like he's going to be doing a lot of stuff that our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring do. Very, very interesting play by Crew where a driver is concerned. 10:40 San Diego and CF Montreal. Marcelo Balboa, he's heading to San Diego if he can get out of the Denver airport. San Diego minus 227. Draws a plus 363. CF Montreal is a plus 555. San Jose and Sporting at 10:40. It was good to get Nate Bukaty's intel on Sporting. San Jose is a minus 116. Draws a plus 295. Sporting is a plus 265. Sunday night soccer. Jake and TT go down to Carson for LAG and NYC. Jillian Sakovitz, part of the bilingual broadcast that is going to be in Carson, California. LAG is a plus 150. Draws a plus 252. NYC is a plus 164. Then the late game, Seattle and Colorado. Seattle a minus 217. Draws a plus 350. And Colorado is a plus 513. So those are your numbers on the weekend in Major League Soccer because MLS is back. Morning, Abby. Abby suggesting Merrimax and then the Wings and then Rodney Scott. Yeah, and Wednesday, he needs to join Wednesday before he hits town. Yeah, really? So Merrimax is good Southern food. David mentioning Fox Brothers Krog Street for the cheesesteak. Morning, Hutch. Morning, David. Morning, Ricky. Michael Head, good morning. Morning, Lokeville. Morning, Pars, who is in Austin, Texas. Morning, Will. Morning, Will Secord. Morning, David. So thanks to all of you guys for dropping in this morning. News and notes and gossip, rumor and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Yesterday's moves in Major League Soccer. We mentioned Taylor Calera going from FC Tulsa to Sporting. Will Cleary, super draft pick signed for Charlotte. Andre Gomes goes from Lille to Columbus Crew on a free. Keep an eye on that one. Jack Jasinski, super draft pick signed by San Jose. Andrew Johnson, super draft pick signed by Charlotte. We mentioned the Shallowy deal, 7 figures worth of interleague, I believe it is intra-league transfer involving Daniel Shallowy. Hang on just a second. Let me get that right before we. Okay, so they acquire. So it's an AM deal. Okay, so it's a Garber-Bucks deal. It is up to $1 million in GAM from Toronto in exchange for Shallowy. $300 in GAM, $700,000 in GAM if performance-based incentives are achieved. Sporting gets a sell-on percentage if Shallowy gets transferred to another club. Press conference at 4 o'clock this afternoon Eastern time, and that will include David Lee, Rafael Vicky, and John Pulskamp. Quote from David Lee, notes on Shallowy, and so it is up to $1 million in Garber-Bucks for Sporting Kansas City to move and pick up AM and send Shallowy to Toronto. Sporting has now also signed Ethan Bartlow as a free agent. First 5 years of his career were in Houston. Through the 26, club options through the sprint season and the 27-28 year. So signing by David Lee coming in at 11 o'clock, and they now have 22 on the roster. 22, 4 keepers. Remember what Nate Bukaty was saying about becoming roster compliant. Stephen Cleveland, Jack Courtcamp, John Pulskamp, Ryan Sheway. 7 defenders, Bartlow, Basong, James, Wyatt Meyer, Jensen Miller, Jaden Reed, Justin Reynolds. Aubin, Bartlett, Lasseberg Johnson, who was signed during the week, Jake Davis, Manu Garcia, and Cielo Chantret. Forwards, Afrifa, Calera, Calvin Harris, Dejan Jovelik, the Bishop, and Shapi Suleimana. 22 listed on the Sporting Kansas City roster heading into the weekend. This sounds like purge of purges in Sporting. So if you're looking at wooden spoons, maybe Montreal, intrigued about Sporting Kansas City, but there are plenty of pieces David Lee can add, but you've only got a roster right now of 22. So that's your instant transaction that happened 3 minutes ago as you're trying to add names if you are, in fact, David Lee. Jesper Sorensen had his contract extended by Vancouver. That happened a half hour ago. Sorensen's contract is now through the 27-28 season. So 26, 27 sprint, 27-28. So that's Jesper Sorensen, and his deal has been extended. So last night in CONCACAF in the Triple C, Galaxy drew Sporting San Miguelito 1-1. Joseph Paintsel equalizer, trailing at the break. Rodrigo Teo from Angel Valencia in the 37th. Then Paintsel from Klaus with 30 to go. Hack, Glesnes, and Klaus made their LAG debuts. Maya Yoshida, 98.5% passing accuracy, 129 to 131. Gabriel Peck, 7 shots. NYC, February 22nd, once again, 7 o'clock, so 7:10. Last night, they were played at Estadio Universidad Latina in Llano Marin, Panama. It was not at Sporting San Miguelito's normal barn that only seats 2,000. So that's your rundown there. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it from our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. It's important to us. It's important to them. It's important to you. Helps them, helps us, and helps you. Adding more matches to everything you're already watching. Fanatis, you get all the BNs, which means you get AFCON, you get AFC Champions League, you get a lot of the leagues in South America. You get the Polish League, you get the French League, and the Turkish League at BN. TSA out of Argentina, a lot of leagues in South America, all in one place, one subscription, one home. Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. So we had Europa and conference yesterday. We'll get into the notes in a bit about what happened in the fallout from Conference League. It's not good for Happy to Be Here FC. We'll get that in a sec. Polish League at noon. Ligue 1 at 2:45 on BN en Español. So today, on the plus, A-League, Bundesliga, Bundesliga B, Bundesliga 3 at 1 o'clock, and La Liga at 3, Athletic Club and Elche. Deportes runs the same La Liga match. Paramount Plus, Championship at 3 o'clock, Blackburn Preston North End, 2:45 Serie A, Wraith Rovers St. Johnstone in the Scottish Championship at 2:45. Now, Saturday and Sunday, both long and both big. Here are your highlights. BN en Español Saturday, triple header Ligue 1. CBS Sports Network, Stoke and Leicester early, 7:30. 3:55, it is on Big FOX. It is Atlanta and Cincinnati. NBCSN has your triple header in the Premier League. Deportes has your quadruple header like they always have with La Liga. Fox Deportes, Serie A, the league we don't talk about, then MLS. It is Sábado Gigante, Sábado Futbolero with TUDN, triple header. Universo simulcasting the triple header on the NBC side of things. CBS Sports Golazo Network, double header Serie A, 9 and noon. Apple TV, once again, it's all Apple now. It's just no season pass on Apple TV. All of them are there. ESPN Plus, A-League, Eredivisie, Bundesliga, Bundesliga B, Bundesliga 3, La Liga 2. Fox O&E, Serie A, Serie B, the league we don't talk about, Major League Soccer. Fox Soccer Plus, Serie B, the league we don't talk about. Paramount Plus, on Saturday, available for your viewing pleasure. Serie A, English Championship starting at 7:30 in the morning. League One and Scottish Premiership. Peacock has all 5 matches in the Premier League. Women's side on Saturday, A-League bright and early in the morning at like 2 a.m. 6:30 Serie A and simulcast on the Plus. Peacock has a triple header available to you in the Super League. Carolina, Dallas, Lexington, and Jackson, Tampa Bay, and Fort Lauderdale for the Sunshine Derby. Sunday, leagues available. BN en Español, Ligue 1. Sports Network, English Championship, Sheffield United, Wednesday, but it's bright and early Sunday morning. Premiership with Rangers at 10, Liga MX at 6, Pumas and Monterrey. FS1, late night, Seattle, Colorado. Premier League, Nottingham Forest and Liverpool. USA has a doubleheader, Sunderland, Fulham, Spurs, and Arsenal. ESPN Deportes, quadruple header, La Liga. Fox Deportes, Serie A. Honduran League, MLS. Telemundo, doubleheader, Premier League. TUDN, doubleheader, Domingo Futbolero, Liga MX. Apple TV, 2 matches, the Sunday night soccer match, and then Seattle and Colorado. On the Plus, A-League, Eredivisie, Bundesliga, Bundesliga B, Bundesliga 3, La Liga 2. Fox O&E, Serie A, Serie B, Honduras, and MLS, the late game. Fox Soccer Plus, Serie B, Paramount Plus, Serie A, quadruple header, English Championship, Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, Peacock, Premier League, 2 games at 9, women's side, Serie A Feminine, and it is simulcast on Fox Soccer Plus. That's your rundown of what to watch, where to watch it on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Premier League juice boxes on the weekend. Storylines to keep an eye on. Villa favored with Leeds, Brentford favored with Brighton, Chelsea big favorite with Burnley, West Ham slightly favored over Bournemouth at a plus 148. Man City, Newcastle, 3 o'clock, Man City big favorite. Sunday, the 4 matches. Crystal Palace favored at home against Wolves. I don't know about that. Liverpool favored on the road at Forest. Sunderland and Fulham basically dead even across the board at a plus 169. Spurs and Arsenal big favorite at a minus 175. Monday Night Football before they come back into the midweek. Everton, Manchester United favorite at a minus 106. Everton at Bramley Moore Dock is a plus 261. Now let's get you into the news and the headlines of the morning before we get you out of here and get you ready for the weekend. So, as I sit here and kind of go through the headlines, I'm trying to see if there's anything that I missed. Oh, yes, Oliver Glasner. Oliver Glasner, after what happened in Conference League yesterday, they consider sacking him now. Happy to be here, FC. During the game on Thursday, the fans weren't happy. They let him know. They're considering sacking Oliver Glasner after his last public statements where he said that he was just not good enough to turn around the club's fortunes. Now, remember, he's leaving at the end of the year. So now, after drawing at Zrinjski Mostar in Europa Conference League yesterday, unclear whether or not he will continue to be in charge after Sunday's game at home to Wolves. Paddy McCarthy is in line to step in as caretaker if needed. Thomas Frank, believed to be a new signing in the summer. They would also want to chase after Bournemouth's Andoni Iraola and Robbie Keane, who is with our buddy Stephen Glass at Ferencváros in Hungary. 1 win in their last 15. Glasner admitted earlier this morning that he is unsure whether he would see out the season. So it's not looking good for Happy to Be Here FC. Keep an eye on Crystal Palace. They're kind of spinning their wheels in the mud right now. Could that be it for Oliver Glasner? And keep an eye on the latest at Crystal Palace. Definitely going to be keeping an eye on that. The FA has taken no action over Sir Jim Ratcliffe over his comments earlier in the week. And let's see. FA has charged Cardiff over chanting in the Carabao Cup tie. And trying to see if there are any other highlights of stuff we need to know. That is the highlights in England. I mean, I can't say it like Jason does. Josh Sargent, $22 million, according to Abby. So, and like it's $22 million. You could have add-ons, numbers anywhere in between, but looks like we're all in the ballpark. And according to the Telegraph, the refs have lost faith in VAR technology. Physician, heal thyself. That's all I'm going to say. Let's see. I'm literally trying to sit here and go through headlines and see if I've missed anything. I don't think, as we head into MLS is back, MLS Week 1, that we hit MLS pretty hard. And once again, can't thank everybody at Kirk Reynolds and everybody at Major League Soccer enough for this. 13 players are training. Igor Tudor said about Spurs, that's not looking good heading into the weekend. So, and did you see this? A judge in Argentina has barred the president of the Argentine Football Association, Claudio Tapia, and 4 other officials from leaving the country, summoned them to testify regarding alleged misuse of Social Security contributions. First, relevant legal action against Tapia, who's facing several investigations into his assets and the financial management of the organization. Chiqui Tapia, according to the AP, summoned for questioning March 5 in Buenos Aires courts, accused of failing to pay social contributions amounting to $12.8 million in 2024 and 2025. Complaint was brought by Customs Collection and Control. Obligated to appear in court but can refuse to testify. Judge prohibited Tapia from leaving the country due to the, quote, seriousness of the investigated events and to guarantee the completion of the legal proceedings, end quote. If the travel ban remains in place after he testifies in court, he will not be able to attend the Finalissima between Argentina and Spain, set for March 27th in Qatar. Treasurer Pablo Tovigino, Secretary General Christian Malaspina, General Director Gustavo Lorenzo, former Racing Club President Victor Blanco will also have to appear to testify, not allowed to leave the country for the same reason. No comment from either side, either the judge or from Chiqui Tapia himself. So that's where we are with that. Okay, on that note, MLS is back, people. Optimism begins anew. And Abby, that is the question. We need to have Kevin Egan on to discuss the new endeavor. I reached out to him as he was hopping on a plane heading up to Connecticut this morning and mentioned the new venture. So, yeah, we're going to have Kevin on to discuss said new venture. And we'll talk about all the things involving with Kevin. Reminder tonight, 7:30 on the network. Dalton Johnson Gainesville from the Dungeon. Maddie and I will be up there for that one. It's going to be a great match for high school soccer tonight. Once again, here, go to soccerdownhere.net and go to hit the listen tab. When it's live, about 7:25, you'll see a red light. Hit that red light. That's SDH 1 up and running. You get that one, you're good to go. So you hit SDH 1. You'll be listening to Dalton and Johnson Gainesville today before you get to watch Atlanta United and FC Cincinnati tomorrow. David, it was the AP. I was reading AP copy. That's just where it was. So keep an eye out for other transactions today. Keep an eye on Josh Sargent, whether that becomes officially official. But we're back at it in Major League Soccer, everybody. 15 matches. We get to the summer. That tournament's going to happen. Come back. 19 on the flip side of that. You're to December. Then you hit the sprint. Then you get the schedule change where they're in line with the European calendar, 27-28. That's where we are. The beginning of a 5-year sprint in this country. Looking forward to it. And so Abby has a public service announcement. Anybody wants to come build the TIFO for the home opener, go to Sign Up Genius. Get in touch with Abby. Go to Sign Up Genius. Get it all squared away. And you, too, can be a part of everything when it comes to the TIFO and welcoming folks back for the first time in 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. Home opener against RSL, then Philly. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this weekend, according to Abby, for helping out with the TIFO once again. Catch up with Abby. Go to Sign Up Genius and go to Chant. Don't forget, if you are a part of our the SDH work on the Chant app, go back in and continue your membership there. It's like $10 a year. Helps out our Soccer for Good campaign here in 2026. So re-up on the Chant app and do that and do that and do that. So do that. Get ready. Be properly hydrated. Make sure everything is ready to go because it's a big weekend in Major League Soccer that includes Atlanta United as we're getting ready for 2026. You thought all of our coverage was wall-to-wall now? You wait. Me, Maddie, Jason, Jarrett, Nick, Sophia, Choice D, all the above. We're looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to sharing it with you as we go. So tonight, 7:30 at the Dungeon, Dalton and Johnson Gainesville. Tomorrow, 3:30, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. It is Abe and Maddie to start, Mike and Jason to follow, Abe and Maddie after. MLS is back. MLS is back. The build starts tonight on the TIFO. So thanks to everybody who was here for the show of chaos. Can't thank y'all enough for that. Can't thank Major League Soccer. Can't thank Michael Parkhurst for any and all the above when it comes to all of that. So that's why we like to do shows of chaos. Now it's time for the rubber to hit the road when it comes to Major League Soccer. So thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us for the entire show. Like I said, I didn't know who was showing up until I see them. It's like I'd get an email. I might have the chance to look. Most of the time I didn't. But great participation. It was a fun conversation for everybody. And since it is the end of the show on a Friday, that means that we do one thing and one thing only to send you on your way. Enjoy your lunch, people. Mucho platial. Play it safe. Games start tonight. Again in high school. Tomorrow. Atlanta United. We'll see you there.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours because it's Friday.